Hey guys, how's it going? I hope everyone's been well. Hope life has not been too stressful for you, too much to handle. Though I surmise that it's not possible for it to be. For whatever is put upon you by God is meant for a specific reason. God's wisdom is above ours. And so I give up all privilege and all glory and all power to God. I wish for him to do what he must in order to divine the true ending of my life. And that's what I wanted to talk about today. The reason why I chose this image, it kind of encompasses a large number of aspects of our reality in the symbolic sense. And the message that I had for you today, as I never really write anything down, but I did have a bit of a thought to work upon, is that as things are in the spiritual world, so are they in the material world, and so are they in your life. As the tides of your life ebb and flow, so do the tides of your spirit. And while it is a battle, a war in the spiritual sense, you have to look even above that. You have to look above the concept of conflict. Conflict is simply the friction between two different moments. That's all it's ever been. War, poverty, destruction, and evil are all brought about by men who make their own choices, or so they think. But in reality, all the conflict in the world only serves God's will. And it's horrible and as distasteful as it can be at times. You have to look past the temporary. You have to look past the life and death. You have to look past your own life and mortality and look into the spirit and see that things are being resolved. It is my wish and my prayer that what is going to happen next can go over as smoothly as possible. And I wish for you to not have fear in the days ahead. Things might get a bit crazy. Crazy in the sense of the material world. Crazy in your own life, perhaps. Although, as I think you've noticed, a lot of the times, the things that happen, on the screen, in the media, and outside of your own direct perception, largely have little to no effect on your own life. The prices of goods, the prices of rent, the people around you reacting to seemingly real events, quote unquote, that influence their behavior. The reason why that happens is because you have an ingrained belief inside of you, and I'm not saying I'm any different. It is truly difficult to get away from the world enough so that it does not affect you in any way. In fact, I would surmise it's nearly impossible. But there's a reason for that as well. But it's because your belief in the system is so ingrained that it reaches out to you in small ways no matter how hard you disconnect from it. So don't feel as if the manifest effects of some affectual event across the globe prove any sort of systematic truth or lend any credibility to a narrative, because they do not. It is simply the after effect of your own subconscious belief. And to say that things are so minimal based on the absolute insanity that they put upon the screen within our own lives for the most part is a blessing. I'll say that. that things are not as bad as they could be. In fact, things have never been that bad. They only seem that way. I surmise that things have always been pretty, okay. And you only feel the effects of the events that which you put your own hand into. Notice a little owl right here. Little Moloch going on, little aliens. Pyramid. This represents on this side, I believe, the dark side. And this represents the light, supposed in the yin and yang sense. Not in like good and evil, but like two sides of the same coin, like morality wise. Jesus Christ was not a moral person. Now stop before you think of anything. Let me finish my thought. I know that sounds kind of crazy. What I'm saying is that Jesus Christ did not do things out of a sense of morality. In my opinion, he did them out of the fact that in the spirit and discernment of the Lord, he knew the things that he did would have a effect on the world and the people around him. It is above morality. It is above good and evil. It is the spirit of the one true God, that which rains down from above in all of its glory and knowledge. It is above man's sense of morality, because although in the spiritual sense to know good and evil is to be like quote unquote the gods, the God that we were made in the image of also created that system and created the system above it and above it. The essence that which we were crafted from is incomprehensibly unconceivable within the limitations of our physical form, that which we hold now. So, what I'm saying is that Jesus Christ, having the Spirit of the Lord within him, as you do, and as we are all members, both individually and as a whole, of the body of Jesus Christ, that discernment, that ability to look at something and know that which is true and that which is not, allows you, were you to hone that and to focus in on it with complete and utter concentration as much as you possibly can, and to pay your attention to that process, you would be able to make the same sort of choices and have the same sort of desired effects. Now, are you evil or are you good? Are the choices that you make good or are they evil? Since you are a man or a woman, you have that sense of morality within you. And you have that, I won't say flaw, just inherent design within you. It's part of the system that you're crafted into, your genetics, that you lean one way or another. But your spirit is above that. Your spirit, the host of the Lord, of the one true high God, is above that concept. And so, if you concentrate and then deliberate on that and focus and pray and think, even though to you your decisions and choices may seem to be your own, and there is some justified reason for them in your own mind, in reality, as a result of the process of prayer and concentration and focus and knowledge and connection with God, you have allowed God into your life to be a host for the one true God and to allow him to make your choices for you. It does not mean it violates your free will. It's simply that through prayer and that through accepting Jesus Christ as your Savior and as your God, the one true God, it's basically saying that I want something. I want the world to be a certain way, or I want there to be a certain outcome, and I want there to be, just something that even you may not understand. Although with great concentration and focus, I believe that you can discern it through the external environment and then internalize that truth. I believe that it's possible to a degree. It's really impossible to get to know the objectivity of it, but the subjective understanding of it, I believe, is entirely possible. The feeling, the emotions of it is entirely possible. To know the guidance. And so, with that being said, that is why you cannot judge. You should not judge. And you should not judge yourself. You should not judge others. And you should not act in haste and in anger and in resentment. And do not react. Since you know that your actions, if you follow God, are as of a consequence beyond your understanding, do not be so hasty to judge your own actions and the way things are going, because you can't see the forest for the trees. You just see one tree and then another tree and then another tree. But in the back of your mind, subconsciously, if you've contacted God, if you've spent a lot of time doing that, which I have in the past. Here lately, I've been, I don't know what you call it, sleeping, just waiting, letting things take their course. But in the past, I've taken night after night of concentrating in prayer and reach contact with what I believe to be God. I say what I believe to be because it may be one of God's emissaries. It may be an aspect of God. It may be something that God has put in front of me. But I know it is from God, or it is of God in some way. That much I can say. And so through that process, I have essentially given my will and my decision making to that power, and allowed it to do it for me in the back of my mind subconsciously. Allowed my own soul to make my choices. And while I make my own conscious choices, like I said, like a fractal. If you zoom out far enough, you'll see that it's merely a part of a larger image, your entire persona and your entire decision-making process. And so, with that being said, what does that mean as far as how you should live your life and how you should feel? Well, it should give you I'm not saying it should do anything for you. I don't want to control you and how you think. To me, personally, it gives me a sense of peace, and it gives me a sense of understanding that life, since it is outside of my perception, there's no real reason to worry about the way things are going. There's no reason to fight so hard and so dramatically and to feel so angry about the way my life is. I think the most pressing negative manner, if you don't mind me airing it out for a moment, is, I guess, loneliness, isolation, I feel. Just lack of contact between people. I have my father, which is really good, it's so much more than a lot of people have, and he does a lot of things for me. But, desire kinship with my peers, I guess, were I to have peers. I'm fairly unique, and I don't mean in the sense that I'm just like some weirdo freak or anything, although I'd imagine your average quote-unquote person out in the world might think that way. But, within people who understand, I don't think I would be considered so extreme. I hold a lot of knowledge and a lot of understanding and a lot of discretion, and I have good discernment. I can be confident about that. But, I have a lot of flaws too, which I consider, and I try to, and I think through the process of trying to remedy those flaws, you find the truth and you find the destination through your seeking of it, through the journey to the point rather than the point itself is where you have found the answer. That seems to be a universal truth. And so, although I may feel alone now and without kinship, I do not take this as a sign that either A, I am above all others, or above those that I know at least, and that my wisdom and understanding separates me so much that I am yet as a leader or a prophet like Jesus Christ himself, because that's just not the truth. I mean, everyone is a part of that process. Everyone who seeks knowledge from God is a prophet. That's just how it is, whether in some small way or in some big way, or as encompassed as your entire persona, or just as a part of it. We're all part of that process of profiteering and bringing in, the next thing, whatever that may be, a new heaven and a new earth. But it doesn't require you to fight on a human level. Ben from Vats, and so basically what I want to say is I'm not above others. That much is true. And to finish that thought, Ben from Vat City, Vat_City on YouTube, he in a recent video, it was called It Was Good. He surmised that there's two camps of people. One camp who believes there's something wrong and they have to fix it. And one camp that believes that there is nothing wrong at all. I agree with the fact that there is nothing wrong at all, but I'll say there's nothing wrong at all in the sense that you, in your capabilities, willfully can do anything about that. Things have already been set in motion to correct that which you feel is incorrect with the world and with your own self, and they're actively day and night. I won't even say day and night. It's outside of time. It's getting done. God has not forgotten us. Hardly. We're the most important thing in his eyes. He loves us more than anything. More than anything can love another in this place. There is no such competition to God's love to one of us and to all of us. It is not comparable to human love. And I'm not saying that loving your wife, loving your kids, loving your brothers, your friends is as somehow lesser. It's just that God's love comes from a place of it is unshakable. There is no wavering in it. No matter how you perceive God to act, and whether God seems upset with you, or seems frustrated, or has left you, his knowledge is beyond your own, and that's all there has to be said. Whatever he is doing is for your own benefit. I promise you that. Promise you that's the case. God says so multiple times throughout the Bible. And not only in the Bible, through the Quran, through the Talmud, through any sort of religious text that you can find, the central spiritual force can be seen as a benevolent one. Now, there are texts that see it as a malevolent force. But that's focusing on a different aspect. That's not God. There's different aspects to reality that you can label as with slap the name God on, but that's not what I'm talking about here. Talking about everything. The whole picture and beyond it. Imagine in your mind a creature, it's a bit belittling, I won't say creature, a being that could hold the entirety of everything that you could possibly imagine within the palm of its hand and manipulate it like a tool, and just understand that being loving you, not as a pet, not as a little science experiment, but loving you as an equal, as you are made like it, and you have the same type of power that it does. Imagine what a being like that would go through and would do for you, to be fathered by an incomprehensibly omnipotent God. Imagine the love that takes, and the heartbreak when things happen to you, and the heartbreak from having to do things in order to make your life go right even perceived to be hurtful to you. It must be devastating to God. I can only imagine. An aspect of God that can feel and think that way. When God came down as a man, and still does, within our spirits. So he simultaneously understands, is, and is above us all at once. And there is no escape from it. You cannot escape God. You either face up to it or you hide and you look away. Those are the only choices. There is no other choice. You know? You look or you don't look. There is no getting away from it. There is no, there is no escape. There is no getting away from God in any sense. So, for my second point as to why I would be isolated, it says in the Bible to come out from among them and be separated from the Gentiles. I have been separated from a lot of people that were bad influences on me in many different ways. And I long for the pleasure and for the companionship that, those relationships and those kinships brought me. But at the end of the day, like it was a negative, like net negative effect on me. And so it is preferable that I would be in the current state that I am rather than be the way that I was when I was still with those other people. It is preferable this way. I'm certain of it. This pain is only temporary. The feeling is only temporary, and I can look beyond that. And the world, of course, does its very best in all facets, it seems, to press upon that pain, throw salt in the wound, and step on your neck at every given opportunity, as you well know. But don't be discouraged. Nothing here that tries to get in your way has any power over you. It only has the power that you allow it to have. And so, I think one last thing I'd like to say, not to ramble on too far, but if you're feeling isolated like I am, lonely, a lot of people, I guess a lot of quote unquote mainstream would say, oh, that's good, like God's setting you aside and, he has a special purpose for you. Most of those people that say that have never experienced it for themselves. The bitterness and the jadedness that comes from being in that situation, not only in a current moment, but for years on end, But the past isn't real, and the future isn't real. It's only the present. And so that present will turn to a moment, and another moment, and another moment. And whatever is going on right now, just keep that perspective in mind that I mentioned earlier, of God's omnipotence and His understanding that all these things, if they are coming to pass, have to come to pass, and there is no other choice. Otherwise, God would surely spare you from the pain of it. So have no fear. These days will come and go, and there'll be times when things are better. There'll be times when things are more to your liking, I'll say it that way, because better, good, are all subjective. There will be times when things are more to how you would prefer them, I'll say that. So don't judge yourself for the way that you feel, or if you've become disconnected from God, or you think you have, you haven't. If you think you feel that way, you're only ever a moment away from God. If you in the next moment accept Him back into your life, it's already done and already has been done for eternity. There is no other way. There is no separation. So don't feel like that there is, like you've somehow went too far. No one has gone too far. We all can be saved, and we all will be saved. If God has anything to do with it, He certainly does. So, yeah, whoever's listening, I hope you have a good morning, a good day, a good night. I hope that you keep things in perspective, and that however strange things may get, it's nothing new. This all has happened before, I assure you. And you made it through just like you'll make it through this time, even better. There's something special about this time, I feel like. Although it may not be different in the material sense, it may not be different in your mind, it may not even be different in the spiritual sense. There's just something different I don't know. I have a feeling about it. There's something new coming, that which has never been anything new, but there shall be something good. God bless you all. Thank you so much for listening to me rant and ramble. And I hope you're all well, like I said. If you have any thoughts on how you're feeling, if you want to express yourself, you can do so in the comments, and you can ask, and I'll give you my email. Hell, I'll call you on the phone. It doesn't matter to me. You know, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of anything, especially not afraid of communicating with anyone for any reason. If you need support, if you need help in a mental way, anything I can do, you know, I preach and I help people out in public as much as possible, and I would do whatever I could for any person that came to me. And so, you know, don't be shy about it if that's what you need. There is support, and there is someone that's thinking about you in their prayers each and every day. And more so than anything else, God is thinking about you. And there's nothing else more that you need. God bless.